Professor. We're about to start and we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Black Side Show again. Just hit that. Got it, Brad. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, today, it's a special guest that we have here. We were honored to be able to get hold of him. Today, I have Professor Roman. How do I spell your last name, Professor? Is it Roman Sheremeta?
That's perfect.
Yep, Roman Sheremeta. So, PhD, Associate Professors of Economics at the Weatherhead School of Management at Case Western University, and studied at Purdue, well-respected economist, obviously one of the top economists in the Ukraine, and a native, and obviously you're an American citizen as well, right?
That's right.
Right, and reside in Orange County, California, and we are so honored. Thank you so much for coming on with us today. I have my friend Tom Hutchison with me, who is actually an American artist. And why do we have an American artist with us on the show today? Because some of the most dangerous CIA agents ever served in the agency happen to be artists. So we are so honored to have you. We have so much we want to go through with you, Professor, today.
By the way, you can call me Roman. I would rather prefer that.
Awesome.
It's going to be more friendly conversation.
Awesome. And we are easy. We're not obligated. Roman, it's been really tough days here, as nothing tougher than what you guys are going through, but it's been tough here for us, like myself, someone who worked in the intelligence community, been a former intelligence operative, to see that the claims that came out in this country against your country, and we almost couldn't really do anything. My heart is with the Ukraine. I support the Ukraine all the way. I don't have to think twice about it, because knowing what Putin is and what he stands for. However, you do see that as an American citizen yourself, almost half of the American people went from not knowing where the Ukraine is on the map to calling the Ukraine with all kind of names, Nazis, all kind of different claims. Some of us who are aware and informed understand the dynamics and how people are different. However, you do know yourself that the media, social media influencers, a lot of people went to war against the Ukraine for no reason. So I want to start with you today. And also, I want to give a big shout out for the American citizens who escorted you to the Ukraine, who put their life at risk. And I want you to let them know in behalf of us that we respect them highly for doing such a thing, because it takes courage to do something like that, to expose yourself to a war zone. And it takes courage to really stand with the right side over evil. These Americans, I don't know them personally, that are there with you right now. However, they made a decision. They didn't hesitate. And truly, my book, these people are heroes, and they're there to support the people of the Ukraine against this evil Russian civilization that is destroying everything in the Ukraine. So how do you feel about this, being yourself as an American citizen, as you are part of this country as well, and seeing this happening to your own country?
I was in Ukraine just right before the war started. One day before the bombing of Kyiv, I actually went back to Cleveland to pick up my wife, because that's where she's from. And we were supposed to move to Ukraine and open up American University. And yeah, so basically it took us literally one day to hear the news, and I was shocked, in disbelief. I was broken, seeing my family hiding from shelling. My dad celebrated his birthday in the basement. My friends going to war. My vice president of our university picking up and enlisting in the army to defend our country. I mean, it's been heartbreaking. And right now, coming to Ukraine, and even today, hearing the air raid sirens going on, and we have to leave all the, close spaces or hide somewhere. This is crazy. This is insane. This is a 21st century. It's a European country.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's a heartbreaking seeing the friends and people being killed, tortured, raped, decimated, eyes burned, people shot in the back of the head, civilians, not the army. It's insane. It's insane. The brutality, the genocide that is happening today is it's painful.
And
That's it.
one thing that got my attention is, that I've been posting these crimes, like horrific crimes, in the nonstop, trying to get the people to see it, to see the ugly side of war, what Russians do. How shocked are you with the Russian propaganda or the Russian side of a propaganda that immediately commit the crime and then accuse you of faking it? This is something I noticed here in the United States, that when I started showing Americans, half of the American people, I started showing them real crimes that are happening in the Ukraine, and somehow they're always going to have a doubt in their heart because the Russians were ahead of the game. How do you fight that?
Uh, this is such a difficult question for me because I mean I'm not shocked by Russian propaganda.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it work through many years, including the years even of the Soviet Union. I was born in the Soviet Union. I moved to the United States after the Soviet Union fell, and so basically, it's been a tough thing. It's been a very tough to see people being deceived and not being able to do anything to prevent that. The way that this happened in Russia, I understand why. Because the media is completely controlled by the state, completely, 100%. There's not a single word that comes uncensored, and so that I understand. What I do not understand is the West. I don't understand people who have access to social media, who have access to so much free press, can fall for the propaganda that has been building, by one man or a team of people that is controlled by one man.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that I do not understand.
And for me, myself, I worked in PSYOP for 11 years. I trained U.S. military in how to really disturb other countries. And when you look into it as a professional, like as someone who's done PSYOP his whole life, when you look into it, it's the social media. The same people are following to it. Like Colonel Burke the other day, who I had my first episode, it would have been interesting if he was able to be here with us. Explain all this dynamics, how the Russians were able to tap into social media, tap into influencers within our country. And you notice 72 hours here in America, people change. We literally woke up, Putin is attacking the Ukraine. We're against Putin. 72 hours later, half of the American people telling me all kind of terrible things about the Ukraine. And prior to that, they don't know where to point the Ukraine in the map. So how is it as Americans? How is it that Putin has such an influence within our country? Is this intentional? Is this control within? Is this something he is pushing? Or do you think just because Americans are so divided, they would do anything against their rival? They will just do anything.
This is a great question. And I think you're already pointing out some really important things. And I think it's a combination of the factors. One of the things is, yes, we are divided. And as soon as you have one party that is ruling that you don't agree with, so for example, I'm a conservative.
Yeah.
So, my intention or my I would be looking for the mistakes that the liberals are making right now and trying to point them out. And so everything that they're standing for, you're trying to go against.
Yeah.
And so, but that's a false pretense, because very often we agree on many things. As humanity, as people, we are standing for the same values, for life, for liberty, for individual freedoms, and so there are some things that just transcend the parties and affiliations and humanity. Love. There's so many things. And, one of the things that I think has happened, and I don't believe that Putin has bought up these media people or influencers. I don't believe that. Maybe with Europe, I do believe that, because I can see a lot of ties of European politicians, like former chancellor of Germany, or the prime minister of Austria and other countries that actually have worked for Russian companies and got paid a lot of money. Yeah. So you can see how Putin has bought them in, that propaganda. Yeah. With the US, I don't know. It's a part of that is the conspiracy, love for conspiracy, something new that people, never seen before. Let me tell you the truth. Everybody's telling you this narrative, but I'll tell you the truth. Yeah. And by the way, if I'm going to be exciting, telling you something new I'm going to get more followers.
Exactly.
So I'm actually incentivized to go against the truth because then, I'm going to get more followers.
And I agree with you on that. I agree with you 100% because I have seen that where, I was born in Iraq. This is where I went undercover during the Iraq War for the U.S. intelligence. And Iraq, one thing that every American intelligence agent I worked for through my career, they will tell you one thing about Iraq. Iraq during Saddam Hussein was conspiracy theory drunk. Any story you would make, there is like literally to every event, there's about 10 to 20 stories. And that's where I started seeing here within the United States that people are trying to push for views and they would do whatever it takes. And you're right. I don't believe every influencer in the United States is really pushing Putin agenda because Putin is paying them directly. I do believe they are pushing anything that supports the narrative, whether it's true or not true.
That's right.
And that's how I felt personally with what's been happening is that there are so many people pushing on us, so many media influencers, social media influencers, media, and perhaps I meant to bring this to your attention. Recently, Tucker Carlson, you're a conservative, I'm a conservative, Tom is a conservative, and I just wanted to kind of bring this up. Tucker Carlson and Canada's own claimed that Russians have acted in self-defense. How do you feel about Ukrainian hearing that Russia is defending itself against what?
Well, look, I'll tell you, this is not the worst claim, right, that Tucker made. But let me just point out, there are false pretense that Russia had. One of the main reasons they said they attacked Ukraine was to denazify Ukraine. We can talk about that as well, about how many Nazis are in Ukraine. But, the fun explanation is that he's trying to protect himself from what? From NATO? That's a false pretense because if anything, Ukraine didn't want to enter NATO before 2014. That's when Russia annexed Crimea. Only 18% of Ukrainians wanted to join NATO. They didn't want to join NATO. Ukraine didn't want to join NATO, period. But once he attacked, now Ukrainians started to want to join NATO. And today there's an overwhelming support for the join of NATO. And today we have Finland that is right now in the talks of joining NATO.
Yeah.
So if Russia didn't want to really NATO to come to the borders,
why not attack Finland?
Right. It went completely the opposite direction. So this is just a silly argument.
And I believe that some of our media hit that true, that President Zelensky actually stated that, hey, we didn't want to be part of NATO. It was pretty clear. Clear message.
This is the official statistics. You don't have to state anything. You just look at the stats and the numbers.
Yeah.
And so anything that Putin has done so far has pushed NATO closer to him. And Finland is going to join NATO. Yeah. Sweden is going to join NATO. And they're going to be really close to Moscow. The anti-aircraft, the missiles, going to be standing.
It's much closer than Ukraine is.
Absolutely. I'll tell you why Putin has done this. The main reason that he stated himself, he wants to rebuild the Soviet empire.
Exactly.
He spoke that the break of the Soviet empire was the biggest mistake in a century, and he wants to bring it back.
It's interesting you said that. In our first episode, Colonel John Burke, who actually spent time in Europe, Iraq, Afghanistan, stated the same exact thing. He said it's not about the Ukraine. This is about him being the greatest president ever led Russia. Absolutely. And I love that. Absolutely. You stated the same fact.
Imperialistic. Yes, it's an imperialistic desire. He is concerned what the books are going to write about him. And he's expressed that. It's not that it's a secret. You can look at his talks, and anybody who speaks Russian will understand this right away. This
is about legacy. It's not about anything else as we think it is. And that's what makes me crazy, Tom. Like how that American media personnel just push something they don't know what they're pushing. Then I don't think they're realizing that they're supporting this evil agenda of Putin, who wants to control the whole entire continent of Europe.
One thing I think that's interesting is this the idea of the ideological subversion is not new. It didn't start 3 days ago. It's been happening for 60 years with the KGB.
Yeah.
They said 80% of their goal was to change the way Americans think, and they did it through education and media and
that's prior to social media, prior to them shoving that in your face.
Right. So I think, for myself, I question everything. Even I question people I respect more.
Yeah.
So when you see people like Mark Levin has one opinion on the way we should stand against Russia versus other people.
Yeah. And I think that's what's happening right now among the Republican Party, that you got two teams right now.
Right.
You got a team that's saying, look, we need to support the Ukraine. We need to put our differences aside. And you got another team that are most likely trying to prevent you from supporting the Ukraine for whatever reason. Like you would think, oh, they're trying to support Putin because they sound like a Russian fan club. However, as Roman mentioned earlier, that it's about a political rival.
Most people I talk to, I've had friends from Ukraine, friends from Russia. Nobody knows what to think.
Yeah.
Nobody trusts the American media after the last 2 years.
It's too afraid to make a decision.
But after the last 2 years of misinformation or what we perceive to be from the American media, you don't know what's true anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the chaos that you have information coming from so many directions.
Because it's a lot of unverified information are being shoved at you.
Right.
And some of it most likely could be paid by the Russians to do that. Because one thing that Colonel Burke said, I want to go back to the denazifying the Ukraine. That claim is extremely important. I think Joe Altman and Laura Logan, who are known Republican podcasters, claimed that Russia was denazifying the Ukraine. And I understand the dynamics of the Azov battalion. I understand it. I didn't have to think about it. But I do know the average American deserves to hear from the Ukrainians that they're not Nazis. It's kind of crazy. You got a Jewish president and you think that you call him and not. It just sounds really stupid. So why don't we just talk to the Ukrainian himself to know what these claims are?
Look, first of all, I just want to say that this is neo-Nazism argument has been actively promoted by pro-Kremlin trolls on social media. Since the beginning of times. I will tell you also that personally, as a person, as a professor, as an academic person, as a human being, I actually condemn the signs of neo-Nazism and far-right extremism. I'm against it, even though I am a right-leaning person.
Yeah,
I am a Republican, but I actually condemn any sort of far-right extremism. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the argument that people making against Ukraine couldn't be further away from truth. But I'll tell you that the bigger the lie, the more likely people are to believe it.
Yeah.
And if you look at the definition of what is, the Nazi,
it's
a person with extreme racist and authoritarian views.
Yeah.
A person who seeks to impose their views on others in an authoritarian way.
Yeah.
And so, if anything, today, the country that perfectly fits this description is Russia.
Yeah.
I mean, period.
Yeah.
Because they have authoritarian regime. They want to bring their Ruski Mir, which is Russian world, and forcefully impose it on Ukraine.
Yeah.
They want to force Russian language, the Orthodox faith on Ukraine.
Yeah.
And they have planned, which they have laid out in the RIA News recently, how to make this a reality through genocide of Ukrainian people.
Yeah. And I get it. Like, I get the fact that not everybody in the Ukraine is a straight, good, normal human being. You might have those fuck ups that are going to be fighting.
We can talk about that too.
Yeah. And it truly, like, look, I feel if America goes to war right now and David Duke, the president of the KKK, get drafted, does that going to make me a white supremacist just for the fact David Duke got drafted, right?
And so you're absolutely right. So the traces of this neo-Nazism, we can find it pretty much in every country, including U.S., even Israel,
everywhere,
and European,
everywhere,
and European Union. And like, if you compare, now let's do some stats. I'm a professor of economics.
Yeah,
I like data. So when you just look at the far right parties. Far-right parties. You compare Ukraine to Europe.
Yeah.
Compare it to Italy, France, Hungary, Germany, and even Poland. The far-right have a much lesser percentage of votes than in any of these countries. Just to give you an example, in 2019 elections, Svoboda, which is the far-right party, that's the Banderovci that Putin is so afraid of, they got only 2% of vote in the parliament. 2%.
Wow.
In comparison, the nationalistic parties of Germany and France got 12%. In Italy, 17%. So this is just ridiculous to say that, neo-Nazism is something that is prospering in Ukraine, because there is really no support for it, even within the election. And then, as you rightly pointed out, the president of Ukraine is Jewish. The prior president, and the prime ministers were Jewish as well.
So that's an easy one. I mean, how do you say "long live the Ukraine"? It's like Lavka Ukraine. Is that what it says?
The long live Ukraine, glory to Ukraine.
Yeah, glory to Ukraine. How do you say that phrase?
Slava Ukraini.
Slava Ukraine. So when this hashtag went around, right, and a lot of people here in America claimed, through people who are influencing, saying that this is actually a Nazi term. And I just kind of laughed, because I was like, if it says glory, if I was at war in Iraq, and Iraq was getting attacked, and I said, glory to Iraq, right? And somehow someone associated that with Nazis, or associated that with Al-Qaeda, saying, oh, you're a terrorist because you said glory to Iraq, or you said glory to America. How do you answer those?
Look, when this term, again, Ukraine, you have to understand historical context as well. Ukraine has been fighting this survival war for centuries. They are in the middle of Europe. So they had a lot of wars to fight. They fought with Poland at one point of time. Now, today, we work with Poland together against Russia. They fought with Austria. They fought with Russia. They fought with Turks as well. So, and basically, Ukraine is still standing. That's the motto. So glory to Ukraine that we were able to survive the invasion of all these countries, and we are still standing. That's the context, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Defending your country, you have every right.
Survive this.
You have every right.
It's also in our anthem as well, and it's very clearly, as you sing the whole anthem, what this whole thing is about.
And we appreciate you guys exposing the biggest fear of what Americans think is the Russian military, and I think that the Ukrainian people can show the world how courage is, because everybody thought that the Russian military were this strong power that would just plow through any country they want. And
even today, I actually said exactly the same thing. I said that one of the biggest accomplishments of Ukraine in this war against Russia has been to show how actually weak Russia is. And that they don't have such an amazing military. In fact, I mean, just the fact that the pride of their naval, forces have been destroyed by a Ukrainian-made missile, and the boat that cost $750 million. I mean, it called Moscow,
It is, and by the way, you're talking about the ship that just sank, right?
That's right.
There was some rumor saying that actually it had a nuclear head in it or something. Is that a fact?
Well, we don't know that. That's a speculation. Maybe it's true. Maybe not.
Maybe it's not.
There's not confirmed things. But there is a speculation that could have been the case. But what we do know is that there has been Ukrainian missiles that were fired, and the ship has been destroyed. Now, Russia is denying that. They are saying that there's been an explosion from fire, and fire started from the detonation. So this is a really interesting thing. Right, I mean, there's been an explosion from fire, and the explosion caused the fire. That's a really interesting.
It's a good way to say the Ukrainians didn't kick my butt.
That's right.
It's a good way to say, oh, the Ukrainians did it. We just happened to be really got caught on fire. And did they tow the ship back to their waters? Is that what they just did? Oh, it sunk.
They couldn't tow it. It completely sunk.
Oh my gosh. And they haven't lost that since World War II. Is that a fact?
This is the biggest ship that has been sunk in the past, I don't know.
I got to tell you.
40 years or something like that.
It was their flagship in the Black Sea.
I got to tell you, if this war ends between the Ukraine and Russia, before any country buy any weapons from any country, they should put the Ukraine against those weapons to see how well they do. Because the Ukraine just really destroyed the reputation of the Russian weapons. And something I wanted to bring to your attention is Mike Pompeo has stated that, he said, I really admire Putin, and Putin is extremely smart. And I debated that with a former intelligence officer, Colonel John Burke. Is Putin really smart? Or is Putin really not smart? I mean, Putin could be smart in a certain ways,
Yeah.
in the areas that he specialized on as a former KBG spy. And something Colonel Burke brought in to my attention he said, who the fuck attacks the Ukraine during mud season? And that's where I really stopped, right? And I wanted to ask you this, like, how has this mud season affected them? This has affected them more than it affected you guys.
Well, yeah. So they did want to attack before they wanted to attack during the winter, before the mud season started. So they were expecting that it will be a very quick, decisive victory, and this is why they did that. They did it after the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
You know, the whole saga with China.
Yeah.
And so, with that regard, given if the expectations that they had, this is going to be an easy takeover, they sort of went with their own expectations. The big thing about Putin being a rational player, he became the victim of his own propaganda. When they have been believing their own lies that Ukraine is weak, that Ukrainians are just going to give up and give their army, that the president is going to run.
Yeah.
And they've been believing their own lies, and they acted upon those lies.
Yeah.
And that was their downfall, one of the reasons.
Yeah, and I agree on that. I think that the Russian people are not being told the truth, and he's not being told the truth either. I believe that his generals are too afraid to tell him the truth.
And here's the thing: he selects the people that will tell him something that he wants to hear. If he doesn't like what he hears, he fires them.
And you know who that sounds like? Saddam Hussein. Exactly how Saddam got to the way. This is exactly how Saddam got to the way it is. It's almost the same exact style. Saddam lost Iraq, and literally the American troops were outside of Baghdad, and he wasn't aware of it because he had the commanders that lied to him and told him that, we're winning the war, we got this, and all of a sudden he had American soldiers right outside of his palace. So that's something interesting. That just goes to show you when dictators get to a certain level, when they want to get to a certain greatness, they're not taking no for an answer.
Right.
And that's what Putin is now. Putin is a smart person. You can't underestimate him. But I do believe in the last few years, Putin has lost his head. He has lost his brain. And somehow he's getting more radical. He wants to be the greatest president of ever led Russia. He wants to bring the Soviet Union. He wants to control the continent. He feels he can bring Russia back to that world stage of power. But this is biting him in the butt really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe, do you believe, and I meant to ask you this, Roman, so many people here said and disagreed with this statement that if he plowed through the Ukraine, Poland was going to be next. And the other side said, no, he's just trying to defend itself against the Ukraine. So how did you answer that?
The defend against Ukraine, this is just a silly argument. It's false argument. It's just not the case. So obviously, I'll tell you this. Putin will go as far as he is allowed. As simple as that.
Yeah.
He was allowed to annex Crimea. He annexed Crimea. He was allowed to annex Ossetia. He annexed Ossetia. He was allowed to go in Pridnestrovia. He went into Pridnestrovia. He's going to be allowed to go in Estonia. He's going to go into Estonia. He's going to be allowed to go into Poland. He's going to go into Poland. So my point is, he's going to go as far as he's allowed to go. And if he didn't see, if there was no resistance, if he were to take Ukraine easily as he planned, I do believe that he would go further. He would stop. He would not stop at Ukraine,
because he's looking to control the continent. And that is exactly what he's trying to do.
Restore the Soviet Union.
Restore the Soviet Union.
Includes Baltic countries, at least. And
it's scary that I see people here, American citizens, are pushing his agenda, which is really, it's scary, man. When I tell you, like, this is no joke. Canada's Ellen encouraged her viewers to listen to Putin's speeches. I mean, that's where, as a conservative, that's where I stop, man. That's what I put, like, my red line.
Is probably one of the least educated people that I've heard, on the conservative side. And for me, it's so frustrating to hear that she says, I've done my own research. Look, you clearly have not read anything. You have not watched. You don't speak Russian. You don't speak Ukrainian.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't even know. Does she speak one language only, right? I mean, I don't even know. But the point is that, like, this is just ridiculous. How many books of historical books she read on Russia, on the Soviet Union, on Ukraine, on the freedom fighters? I mean, this is just ridiculous. The things that come out of her mouth are just, I mean, and I respect some of her stance. Some of the words that she fought, I stand with her. And I would say, hey, I actually agree with you on this point. But here she's a completely, I mean, just don't embarrass yourself.
Exactly. And I think, you know what? It's Americans are too afraid now to set up the line. They're too afraid to make a line for themselves. They feel like if they do stop, that somehow they're going to get called out of being the other side, right? Like if they were conservatives and they stop at a certain level, they're going to say, well, you're a liberal. This is a whole completely liberal views. And I found myself in that situation where I set up my red line. Once I saw that what Putin is trying to do and how this war is turning, I stopped. I put my red line and I knew that I can't go any further.
Right.
And I didn't care about what anybody thinks. However,
and I think every conservative should do exactly the same thing.
Same thing.
We should have our red lines. As soon as that red line is crossed, you're saying, you know what? I don't want to have to do anything with that person because they have crossed the red line. For me, Tucker Carlson belongs into this category. For me, Candace Owen belongs in this category. And quite a few other conservatives that I said, look, guys, I mean, you clearly do not do justice even to the Conservative Party. In fact, I'll tell you more than that. I do believe that indirectly they're responsible for the genocide that is happening right now in Ukraine.
And I agree on that statement.
The killing of Ukrainian people, and they will be responsible morally if they believe in God, if they're going to come before God. This is something they will need to respond before Him for the genocide of Ukraine because of the statements and the encouragement and the things that they have spoken. And that stuff is recorded.
And I got to tell you, I've seen the genocide. I've seen the crimes. I've seen these teenagers being raped and thrown on the side of the road. And I don't know how I could call myself a person of God and turn around. When I see this, I turned around the other way because, it's going to make Biden look, but I don't care. If you see something wrong, this is something against humanity. This is 21st century that you see Russian soldiers. And there's one disgusting claim that came out. And they compared it to the American military in Iraq. Look, I was there for 5 years in Iraq as a soldier, as someone who works undercover. It's insanity to compare what the Russians are doing in the Ukraine to our American military. We had one incident in Haditha where an American soldier shot people because his friend died on an explosion on a Russian ID, and the person went to trial immediately. And you want to compare us to these crazy monsters that are crossing the borders, killing and raping by order. Perhaps they're not sending Russians who doesn't want to rape. They're sending us intentionally, as Colonel John Burke mentioned, they're intentionally sending monsters and disgusting individuals so they can do what they do. Putin is aware of the genocide. Putin is ordering this genocide. And I don't know how do you call yourself a man of God, man, when you see a teenager. I saw that. And I would dare any one of them to say, it's a lie. It's not true. It's an actor. I saw it disgusting that they're killing a teenager or a 14-year-old.
Hey, I would call anybody. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owen, please come with me. I plan to be in Kyiv in a couple days. I want to go to Bucha myself. I invite you to go with me. I want for you to smell this thing. I want for you to see and talk to people personally. Don't listen to the media, to Ukrainian media, to the Western media. Don't listen to the Russian media.
Come see it for yourself.
Don't listen to them. Just talk to people who have lived there, who is sad, and they will tell you the stories of what has happened. And listen to 10 testimonies and just be done with that.
Exactly. Go in there yourself to see it. It's going to wake you up from what you're doing, because I do feel like people need to see this. The media here is not doing a good job to show the truth, to show what's really happening. And this genocide got to stop.
And talk to people, individual people who have lived in Bucha during the genocide, period. Just talk to people. They're the first eyewitnesses. This is what we do in courts. We bring the eyewitnesses to hear them. So talk to them.
And if you understand how psyop and psychological warfare works. Every time something terrible goes down in the Ukraine, like what happened in Bucha and all this genocide and war crimes and people getting raped thrown in there. You have to know also, while this is happening, there are other things being thrown at the American people to distract them from what's happening in the Ukraine. And as soon as you saw the genocide and the war crimes start rising in the Ukraine, Americans got things thrown at them to worry about what really Biden and his son are doing. Hunter's laptop. And when something kills me about the Hunter's laptop claim, that every time something goes really big, something else comes around to give the American people distracted, whether it's immigration, whether it's anything. And again, I'm not saying that it's not a true claim. It could be a true claim, but why are we looking at topics that are not, they don't matter right now?
Well, what me and you were talking about earlier today was why. My question is, why has Ukraine become the focal point of so much so much news? Like, why are McCain's and Romney's and Pelosi's and Biden's kids all involved in Ukraine? And like you said earlier, most people couldn't point out Ukraine on a map a week ago. I've been following this since last year when the Russian buildup started. Why did not the West give Ukraine such overwhelming power that this invasion shouldn't have happened?
That's a great point. And you know,
like, to me, it was encouraged.
And Roman, there was something really interesting. You know, our Congress woman, Tulsi Gabbard, right? Mm-hmm. She talked about biolabs. And I want to put this claim to sleep. Since I have you here, you're in the Ukraine, you understand the demographic, the geography of the Ukraine. You know, for me, as someone who been in that world, I think it would be so dumb out of the U.S. government to really put biolab near the Russian borders. But I wanted to really get you to explain to me, how did Tulsi, someone at her level, who's a presidential candidate, put a claim like that without being verified?
Well, I mean, that speaks volume to the level and the quality of our presidential candidates, unfortunately. That's a stone into, you know, it's our problem in the United States and overall in the world of politics. And unfortunately, not the best people rise to the top in politics. But let me just go to the claim. Don't want to attack the person, any person, but let me just go to the claim. The claim is ridiculous on many grounds. The first one, as you pointed out, this is like, why would you do that? Why would you develop the biolab right next to the border with one of your worst enemies, knowing that they can attack? And U.S. intelligence knew about the plans of Putin. We knew that, you know, so they could have reallocated everything. But let me go one step further. I mean, if you go with the biolab, then you should believe the whole narrative of Russia, right? I mean, because you're buying that information from Russia, nowhere else. So by the Russian claims, these labs have developed COVID-19.
Exactly. And that's what they accuse. They accuse the Ukraine being behind COVID.
Right. I mean, we have to buy the whole thing, right? I mean, Ukraine has developed COVID-19. Let's go one step further. This is Russia Duma, the Russian main parliament that's they speak from the stage. They said that U.S. has helped to develop Ukraine special birds that will be flying to the to Russia and spreading the biological weapons.
Wow.
The birds. Ukrainian birds.
Wow.
And I mean, let's go one step further. I mean, you can go with all these claims that are just, I mean, period lies.
They're so phony that any pros would know this is all false.
I mean, and so if you see that as a lie, why would you even bring the first pretense? And we talk about the level of technology. We talk about, I mean, all of these things that just cannot be in that place. And then it's I mean, for me, the fact that the person believes in that, this means that that person is not educated or has been.
It's just tough when you're a smart person, you have the right education, and you've been a presidential candidate. You have to be careful about what you say,
or you have been misinformed to such a level that you have been really, you know, you live in the la la land. And the Putin is the same way, right? He's a victim of his own propaganda today.
And you brought a great point here, Roman, that they're falling for the propaganda. You have to understand that our politicians are getting their information from social media influencers. And that's why I go back to this point every time.
Absolutely.
That these influencers are not politicians. They're not official. They started getting the attention of the American people by mocking their rivals. And the American people will be crazy to think these people have nothing else to do in their day. They don't have to make money. They don't have to go to work other than just making fun of their rivals all day long. And that's how they started getting the American people attention. And they eventually started affecting politicians. So what politicians repeated here about the Ukraine, it was not information they searched on their own. And I can guarantee you every single one of them, if they have searched this their own, they got it from social media influencers they follow. Because I did go through each and every one of them, and I saw who they were connected to. And seeing that there are repeating words they're not aware of. And that's where I stop as a conservative and say, you know what, man, if you're not smart enough to really, if you don't have a political advisor, if you don't have an economist working for you, if you don't have that, then I can't have that respect. And to prove that, our own representative of North Carolina, Madison Cawthorn, young man, 26-year-old, happened to be smart, as advertised, supposed to be the youngest that went to Congress, came out and called Zelensky a corrupt and thug. That's not the most important thing. I'm not mad at him for saying that. You know, you have every right to say what you want, right? But when you did call Zelensky corrupt and a thug, the only thing I would question you on, why did the Russian TV play your video beside Tucker Carlson 5 times in one day?
Right.
That is what I would ask you. And I know he regretted it the next day. He regretted it and apologized.
And Tucker is the most popularly quoted person in Russia, which would make me like sick if I was the most quoted person in Russia for the wrong reason. It would make me sick. I wouldn't want to live with myself.
Don't I just want to stop and say, hey, what's wrong with what I'm doing here?
That's right. That's right.
Right.
But let me make, this is such a good point, just about even that particular claim. Look, I actually happen to know personally Alexander Horcharuk. Personally, he's my friend.
Yeah.
A guy who stayed at my apartment in my house in Cleveland with me after he was fired by Zelensky.
Yeah.
He was the first prime minister of Zelensky, the first parliament.
Wow.
So he was fired by him. So you have to understand that it's not that he has a good, warm feeling for the president.
There's some kind of tension.
A couple evenings talking about Zelensky. And I mean, this is the guy that personally worked with Zelensky on par. They're at the same level. Zelensky hired him. He got him, as a prime minister, the second person in Ukraine after the president. And he told me that Zelensky, out of all the presidents, he's not corrupt at all. I mean, of course, at all, that was maybe an overstatement.
And that's a guy that's been fired by him.
Right. But comparing to other presidents, he really came with the right intentions.
Yeah.
He was not tied to any oligarchs.
Yeah.
He was really a person outside the system, and he was not corrupt. His problem was that he was not a professional. He was a comedian. He was not a politician. He was not an economist. He was not a person of
He wasn't a career politician.
Training. Right. So he was not a politician. And that was his fallback and the problem, because he was not a manager. Yeah. And these are the claims that I would agree with. Yeah. But to say that he is a corrupt thug, that's a completely not true. Yeah. And again, this is coming not from his ally, but from somebody who has been fired by Zelensky, who worked with him for the first year of his presidency.
True, I agree. And I agree. I feel like Russia is behind a lot of what went on around Zelensky. And I do know that our representative here in North Carolina who claimed that statement has zero idea about what the history of Zelensky. He also fell for it.
Yeah. And just to make it clear, I actually didn't vote for Zelensky. I have the right to vote for Ukraine, and I was not a big fan of Zelensky.
Nice.
And I'm still not I'm not a big admirer of his. What I do admire is his balls. Yeah. And how he stood up to the test. He's right now really acting as a true hero. Yeah. But again, he stood up again. I would compare him in a way even to Churchill. Yeah. To run the country, Churchill was not a good prime minister of Britain. Yeah. But in the time of war, he was just the right, perfect person to lead Britain against Hitler. Yeah. And the same thing goes with Zelensky. To be honest, he was not the best president to run the country because of his lack of his professionalism, lack of understanding of economic laws, lack of understanding of the reforms.
This was not his career.
Exactly. Exactly. But not that he was a thug or corrupt person. That's actually couldn't be further from truth, because that's what distinguished him from other presidents of Ukraine.
And I do believe, because you know what? I do believe because he is just as big as a problem for Putin than the Ukraine, the Zelensky itself, because I felt like what else Putin wants to do in the Ukraine. And I just felt, and I was like, if they get close to the city, the first thing they want to hit is going to be killing Zelensky. And that is actually, I feel that's one of Putin's top priorities right now, is getting rid of this guy. Because the more that this
actually talks on the national TV and about that, how to assassinate the president today. Today they actually had these talks. I listened personally
about how is that Russian TV talk, how to assassinate Zelensky?
Yes, today.
And interesting. And do you feel that Zelensky is protected by the United States right now? How you feel about that, as yourself being an American as well? Do you feel that America is helping enough? That is America involved somehow?
As an American citizen, I definitely think, and let's speak as a Ukrainian citizen, as somebody who I really appreciate what America has done. We have done a lot, and we have done relatively fast. But it's not enough. I'll tell you right away, it is not enough. Ukraine deserves more. They have demonstrated to us that they deserve more. And they stand for the same things that we as Americans stand for the liberty, for the pursuit of happiness, for the individual freedoms, against dictatorship. This is what Ukraine is all about. This is not this is why Ukraine is so important, because it stands on the brink of these two very different worldviews. The worldview that America has and the worldview that the tyrannic Russia has. And we have to understand that Ukraine is trying to be the same as United States was, 250 years ago when we fought for our own independence. And United States also has an obligation, not only a moral responsibility, but also an obligation, because they signed a Budapest Memorandum in 1994, which guaranteed Ukrainian sovereignty. And when Ukraine gave away willingly their nuclear weapons to be on the accord, agreeing that 3 countries would guarantee their protection, including the United States, they had the 3rd biggest arsenal of nuclear weapons after US and Russia. And Ukraine gave it away with a promise from the United States, including that these countries will protect Ukrainian sovereignty and integrity.
And I got to tell you, if I was the president of the United States right now, the Ukraine is the ally that I want to have. They should be the captain of the NATO team, because they proven themselves that they will not bend over to Russia that easy, and actually broken the Russian glory.
And Roman, is that the spirit of the people in Ukraine right now? That defiance. Like what's keeping you guys
Ukraine,
together?
To be honest, they understand that nobody's gonna go and fight this war for them. They need to fight this for themselves, and they need to win this war by themselves. But they really also understand that without allies, they cannot win this war. They are not expecting boots on the ground,
Yes. And this is an important claim, though. Important claim, because that is the one thing conservatives use in this country. Said, we don't want to send our sons and daughters to another war. And in my opinion, I don't feel the Ukrainians need our help, military-wise.
They have proven that they can destroy Russian tanks very effectively. More than 700 tanks have been destroyed.
True.
And even by official numbers today, Ukraine actually has more tanks than they had before the war, because they have taken so many tanks from Russia. As well.
Especially the farmer, right? The farmer guy that's been...
Well, there's a lot of farmers. There's not one farmer.
A farmer's going to break bank after this war.
What they do need from the United States is the equipment to close the sky. We need the anti-aircraft equipment. the
Yeah.
Patriot systems.
Yeah.
We need the airplanes.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that there's no shelling of the cities.
Yeah.
That there is no shelling of the hospitals.
Yeah.
There's no shelling of the schools, and the civilians are
Yeah.
not getting killed.
Yeah.
And once that is done, trust me, Russia will be dealt with, and
Yeah.
they will lose this war.
And then they're already losing the war. I know
They are losing.
They are losing the war,
and it comes at the tremendous cost of the civilian lives.
Yeah.
From this uncoordinated shelling. I mean, they don't have a good rockets.
Yeah.
And that's also a big problem. They
Yeah.
shoot, and these rockets fall who knows where.
And that's something actually Colonel Burke and General Mark Hertling brought up, since they both led in Europe, and they brought this up that Putin is going to hit as many as possible as civilian casualty. He's going to hit a lot more civilians. He's going to shell everything, use artillery to pressure. And I'm shocked, man. The world now is not all standing together against Russia. This is some World War II.
I do think that the world is united. There are some exceptions, but to be honest, the world is standing up to Russia. It's just not at the pace that they should be.
They should be. They need to do more.
Pushing the world to really act fast to save as many people as we can, because we cannot allow Ukraine to fail, and they are not going to fail. You have to understand also something, that the mentality, I speak to people today, they're around me. I'm here right now in Ukraine. And these people saying, look, we have nowhere to go. We're going to fight for our freedom.
Yeah.
We will die. We understand we will die.
Yeah.
But we're not going to let them win. And because of that, Russia has already lost. They lost this war when they started this war.
I mean, where did the Ukrainians get this resiliency? Like, where did they get this? Like, how did you guys react to this war? Like, I mean, to me, it's like, look, Iraq been at war for so many years, right? Iran-Iraq war, the first Gulf, all this thing. So, like, how did the Ukrainian people find this common ground, and they were able, regardless of the pressure, regardless of everything they're going through right now, where did they find this resiliency?
Well, I would compare that to many countries that have strong identity and a history.
Yeah.
A history that they have built with blood and fight for freedom. So Ukrainians, as I said, we fought a lot of wars for our freedom. Even the national anthem of Ukraine starts with the words, Ukraine is not dead yet, and it's not going to die. And the idea is it comes from this fighting for the freedom against many invasions.
Yeah.
And so you have to understand that this has gone through our history, through our DNA. When my grandpa was telling me the stories as a child, he was telling me the stories of fighting for the freedom for our country and finally winning that freedom. My grandpa was in 1991 in Kyiv carrying the Ukrainian flag, being the advisor to the first president of Ukraine and saying, look, finally, we have achieved what we wanted. We have our independence. We fought for this so long. I fought for this personally.
Yeah.
And this DNA has passed on through generations, and it's in us.
Yeah.
We believe in freedom. We want to be free. We want to be independent. We want to have liberty. We don't want to be ruled by tyrants. And today, this is why we are winning this war.
Exactly. And I do believe that. What's your thoughts? What do you think is going through Putin right now after all this loss, after his reputation has kind of got into the mud with his own army? What do you think is going through his head right now?
Well, I think that first of all, he's in disbelief.
Yeah.
He cannot understand how this whole thing failed.
Yeah.
Given that he had one prognosis and now it's completely different. So it's probably a state of disbelief. The second thing is that he is really scared. I do believe he's afraid. I mean, he acts like it. He lives like it. Yeah. You've seen the big tables. You've seen he has fired thousands of people around him, and he's constantly paranoid about what is going to happen. He doesn't talk to media openly. Everything is pre-recorded. The guy is afraid for his life. And again, that's a part. And he also, I do believe that he also is trying to save his face, to basically get the outcome
Yeah.
He changes the narrative all the time. And at first,
he wants a victory of somehow Kyiv, so he can get out.
Right. It was to take out over Kyiv. Now he says, well, we're here to only for Donetsk and Luhansk. You know, so he's trying to change his narrative to save his face. So I think this is where he lives in this sort of world.
So you think his best option right now, do you think he would think about pulling out?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Unfortunately, not yet. Not yet, because he has a lot of reserves. It's still a huge country, a lot of military power. And every day, Europe is paying him $400 million.
Wow.
Every day for oil and gas.
Yeah. And I saw that India made a deal with him too.
From the West. If we are thinking that the West is supporting Ukraine, again, the West is supporting Russia even more so.
Yeah, and that just goes to show you if he controls the European continent, what else would he do?
We need to stop this. We need to stop oil, gas, banks, financial interactions with Russia. All the business as usual should be stopped.
Yeah.
We need to, again, don't allow any technology transfer whatsoever.
Sanctions are going to take time. And I do believe that. Sanctions take time. They don't come right away. They don't hit him as hard.
That's right.
And you're an economist, you would know that better. I feel that sanctions are going to hurt him, but it's not hurting him right now. We need to hurt him right now. He needs to be hurt.
It hurts him right now, and it will hurt more in the future. But it does take time for the people to start really feeling it.
Exactly.
But aren't a lot of the sanctions going to hurt European countries too? And then with Ukraine being such a huge producer of wheat and things like that, that's going to cause.
You're right. Yes. So wheat and Russia and Ukraine are responsible for about 25% of the world wheat production. Huge number.
Wow.
It's a huge number, and it will be also oil as well. Oil, not the cooking oil, the one that we consume. That's also olive oil and sunflower oil. And we will feel that, but also Europe is very dependent on Russian gas, and that's part why they're reluctant to, especially Germany, France, other countries that are reluctant to pull out from Russia completely. They will do so, but at what cost? How many more buchas we're gonna see? How many thousands of people we're gonna see tortured, raped, killed before we decide, well, enough is enough?
Yeah, and I tell you one thing that broke my heart that last night is watching this little teenager being raped and thrown on the side of the road, and watching like her parents burying her man. Like, could you imagine?
And but that's the ramifications of our energy policies. By shutting down, we're sitting on more oil than the entire world.
And as Roman said, we need to take actions. And we need to take strong action. We're not doing enough, and that's the truth. Yeah. Is a lot of people are saying, oh, this is not our war. This is not our problem. This is not, and they don't realize economic-wise, this is going to affect American interest down the road. What Putin is doing is going to affect the American interest, and that's what they don't understand, that this is going to affect the American interest. The more control this guy gets, it's the more problems he's going to create for us. So this is not just that, and clearly, they don't need us on the ground. They have caused enough damage with the little capabilities they have. Nobody's saying, hey, let's send the 101st and just deploy them into Ukraine and fight them. They don't need us. It's pretty clear. We need to fund the Ukraine. Back in the day when we fought the Soviet Union in Afghanistan, we spent $4 billion. And that's years and years, many years ago. So $14 billion today is nothing. We need more money. We need more weapons. And as far as training, I think we have a good job training the Ukrainian military. Look at what they've been doing.
By the way, just to give you the scale of things here, in the whole war of Afghanistan, Russia has lost as many troops as even less troops than they have lost in the past 50 days. The war with Ukraine. So we have done in 40 days more than in 20 years or so, in Afghanistan.
So if Putin doesn't have a way to save face, though, you have that risk of him escalating.
Yeah, and he's going to give more. And that's interesting you brought that up, because Colonel Burke said it the other day. He said the real violence hasn't started yet, and I didn't know what that meant.
Unfortunately.
And is that? Did you agree with that statement?
Partially, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
we have not had a full-blown. I mean,
Wow.
what we have seen in Bucha,
Yeah.
multiply that times 10 at least in Mariupol.
Wow.
And even today, we already have seen evidence that Russia is excavating in the parts of Mariupol that they have covered, excavating the bodies and moving them away. I wonder why.
Wow.
Because if they discover what has been done with civilians, was it done with people around, I think, and then they know that world is not gonna fall for Russia's ploy and everything that they are trying to lie.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think now they're trying to leave less evidence because the more evidence is, the more the world's going to get angry at Russia, and the more pressure is going to be on Russia. And Colonel Burke brought many different things through his experience serving all over the world, and he brought some of Putin thinking that Putin somehow was going to get some kind of a different breed of people from Russia that hate Caucasians, that he wants people that have a hate in their heart for the Ukrainians. So,
are you talking about Chechens or Kadyrovtsi?
Yeah, and I don't know what he really referred to. Is it the Chechens? Is it the Asians? So, is there like Asians within Russia?
It's not. There's this Muslim population, and again, it's not all the Muslims people that I know. The true Muslims, they say these are not Muslims. They're pretending to follow Quran while in reality they don't.
And there's two type of Chechens that are fighting right now in this war. There's the Chechens in your side, which is
right, exactly. There are Chechens on our side as well.
Which these are the people that fought Putin their whole life. These people have one thing in their life. They breathe one thing. It's they hate Putin and they fight against Russia. So what do you call them? Are they the Mansour Asayev Brigade or something?
Yes, that's right.
And
you did your homework.
I do my homework, and I know like there are individuals that are roads named after them in the Ukraine, like Amina Kyiv. She tried to kill Putin. She tried to assassinate him. She was there. She died over there in the Ukraine. Yeah. These Chechens been fighting very hard. I'm talking about the ones that are fighting in the Ukrainian side. I mean, these people have been fighting hard against.
They are good fighters. They're trained fighters, and a lot of them have been turned into the weapon of mass destruction on the other side, right?
Wow.
So they are the warriors, but hey, Ukrainians have been dealing with them pretty well.
Yeah.
And, there are already thousands of them are.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many claims right now.
In the same place as the Russian ship right now. And so they have, the West needs to understand, Ukrainians know how to fight. They already have been demonstrated that the Russians can be beaten, Ukraine can beat Russia. Just give us the weapons, give us the support, give us the real support. And we will defend America from Russia.
You know what? I agree with that statement. That you guys are much more bigger problem right now for Russia than anybody else in the world, and that wasn't the reality before this war started. One thing that gets me is that you guys are all different backgrounds: Muslims, Sufi Muslims in the Ukraine, Catholic, Christian, whatever. They are all fighting for their existence.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And they're just trying to stop them.
Are fighting right now.
Yeah, and I loved it. I love this unity because that's the one way you can win a war is you have to be united, and that's something we lack here in this country that we should learn from the Ukraine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know what? It's kind of American history. If we don't have a traditional enemy, we're going to fight each other, and that is we've been through Iraq, Afghanistan, all that. When we don't have an enemy, we're so divided. We are fighting each other. We are more worried. And that's what I hate about the United States right now. It's going towards that way where people are so focused on their political rival. Republicans hate Democrats and Democrats hate Republicans. And we're so blind that we're not even recognizing what's happening in the rest of the world. We're not recognizing what's happening in Bucha, what's happening in Kyiv, all these disgusting crimes. And we're turning around because I'm busy hating the other guy. I mean, at a certain point, we have to learn to put our politics in a box.
Right. Well, that division is, again, that's by design over a long term.
And you wonder how much of this division Russia is contributing to. You wonder in your head,
Absolutely.
are they really taking advantage of it? Absolutely, they are. They love it because they see that they can get people in the United States to support them, and they clearly played it on Russian TV. So, and why would they play it on Russian TV? That is a question you have to ask.
The whole Marxist thing has taken over our education system, our entertainment.
We're just exposed as a country. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
We're exposed.
I mean, these groups in this country are coming out as outright supporters of Marxism.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's come over a long period of time.
Yeah. And that's what I think. We're exposed. Like I felt after this Ukraine-Russian war that Russia somehow has their underwear down in this country. That's all of a sudden 72 hours, the public opinion is manipulated and changed and distorted where, as you mentioned earlier, people are confused. They don't know what to do anymore. Even though they see a war crime, a rape, kids dying, and they still say, well, I'm not really sure. Well, what else would you like to see? Like, how much more do you have to see?
I think it's a trust in media. People don't trust the media.
And maybe, look, I watch the media too, but I made a line for myself that when I see certain things, I'm going to stop. I'm going to keep myself from going further. I'm not going to keep questioning the Ukraine when I see he's murdering kids and women and doing all kind of terrible things. No one ever done. This is some World War stuff, even worse than World War stuff. And at a certain point, I have to have a line, man. That's what confused me the most as someone who's not born in America. It's the same audience that was angry against Biden pulling the troops out of Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. Same audience right now is demanding not to support the Ukraine, which just kind of like, I'm like, you got to find yourself. And that's what's so important about being a conservative. A majority of the conservative people are loving people. They love this country. They are so passionate. They're over passionate sometimes. And sometimes you just have to pull yourself back just a little to see where the truth relies. Yeah. So you can save yourself from foreign intelligence propaganda or some evil power. You know, I spoke to a person. I went and did my own research, my own psychological research. And I asked people who are really, really in the far right. And I said, hey, would you rather Biden or Putin runs your country right now? He was like, oh, I'd rather Putin runs this country right now. And I got to tell you, man, this is a reality. That's true. And I just like, well, really? I was like, come on, I didn't vote for Biden, but would I really want Putin to run this country? No, that's very clear. I'm not going to do that.
The person who says that, I mean, clearly he doesn't know who Putin is.
Exactly, I agree.
He stands for.
Yeah,
I mean, I would ask that person only of people who actually lived in Russia.
Yeah,
who would just understand what it is to
go the dynamics.
Try to make any protest.
Yeah.
You come with the blank sheet of paper in the red square, you stand there with nothing, and they're going to take you down, they're going to put you in prison. Yeah. And that's what I want people to know the ugly side of Putin that you haven't seen. Not as advertised by our politicians, some of them who says, oh, you know, Putin's a smart guy. If he was a smart, he wouldn't be in this situation in the Ukraine right now. Look, you can criticize Biden. I mean, be happy about that. We can say anything we want against our president, and that's good.
And it's
because
good.
That's the freedom that we want. We want the freedom of press, the freedom of expression.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist in Russia.
In Russia, you go to jail and they will poison you. Even if they're not sure really if you are a British agent or not, they will poison you and kill you. That's what Putin did.
And then if they find the Ukrainian DNA in you, you will be genocide. Most likely you will be killed, tortured. And shot in the back of your head.
How are families protecting themselves right now from this insanity of rape and killing and going after kids? Like how is things going over there right now? Since you're there right now, what are you guys doing to protect yourself? Are you guys evacuating civilian to some other side, or what exactly the plan?
There is a lot of movement. Yeah, so we have a lot of civilians have moved away from the most hot areas, but then there is also, a lot of people staying behind. The people that are staying behind, civilians, are taking guns.
Okay.
Pretty much you cannot buy a gun today in Ukraine. My dad just bought a gun. He never had a gun.
Wow.
I was just today, right before our talk, I was examining the gun and I was looking at the bullets and I said, Dad, do you know how to shoot? He's like, no, but I have the bullets. I'm like, how many bullets do you have? He says, I have a lot of bullets. I'm like, how many bullets do you have? He says, I have 25 bullets. I'm like, that's
not going to get you anywhere. But I like the determination, though. I like his.
Be one, in one range shooting, just a couple exercises, you're going to be gone with that,
Yeah.
And so I was just talking about it, but that's what people do. They make sure that they can defend for themselves. We brought a bulletproof vest to Ukraine with our team from America.
Yes, which I meant to ask you about this. Like, tell me about this group of Americans that are with you right now from Ohio State. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. So what's this operation? I saw the equipment that you guys were putting together, and it looks beautiful, and it looked like about the right stuff you guys need.
We did the fundraising. So there are a couple things. So personally, I'm involved in Ukrainian American House. That's a NGO. Through that organization, we actually delivered almost over $10 million worth of bulletproof vests and medical equipment.
Wow.
Mostly tourniquets, first kits aid, IFAC. That's the kits that I need, the first aid. And we have, but then this particular trip that I'm here right now with and the team actually comes from a local church.
Wow.
In United States, that have paired up. We have did the fundraiser for Ukraine. It's a Ukrainian church,
and that's just a local church in Ohio.
Local church in Cleveland,
Ohio. Yeah,
that did a fundraising in one day. We collected over $80,000.
Wow!
And then in the span of a couple of weeks, we actually collected $150,000. And we have used that money to buy bulletproof vests. We have used that money to buy tourniquets, first aid, and we took that into bags.
I saw that. I saw your blue bags and everything. Yeah,
we took hundreds of bags.
Yeah.
The 10 people, and so each person had literally dozens of bags. One person took 60 bags.
Oh my God!
Bags on the plane.
So you must paid a lot of money in just like checking these bags in.
The good thing is that the Polish airline actually allows us to take that many bags because Poles really became good friends of Ukraine.
Yes,
probably the best friends in this war.
Yeah, and the Polacks were like, "Let's help you guys because we don't want to be next."
As part of that as well, but it's more than that. Today's talking to Polish people, they really feel our pain, and so we flew to Warsaw. There we packed in 3 cars and the vans and everything. We brought that to the border. In the border, we were held by we had a special permits and we actually, it's pretty crazy. We were driving with a escort. We had a special codes that we were given to give on the block posts, to the military.
Wow.
We actually came into the city at 2 a.m., at 3 a.m. And far into the night, we were stopped like a couple times and police stopped us. They checked, we had all the code words because it's a martial law. You cannot walk in the city
in the street,
after, 10
curfew.
Not to mention drive. And now we split into 4 teams. We went into different parts of Ukraine. We have established some relationship. We're going to start now, continue to flying more aid to Ukraine, more bulletproof vests, more medical, food, other stuff.
And these are Americans, right? Am I right? Are these individuals that are with you right now? Now, these are Americans, not Ukrainian Americans.
They are U.S. Yeah, they're U.S. citizens. We also have Ukrainian Americans.
Oh, okay.
I mean, in our church, even though it's
that's what I love. Church, that's what I love about our country. A local church in Cleveland, Ohio, could take it up to Putin. Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show you that, look, these are small number of American citizens are making a big difference in a war. This body armor, whatever, is going to go, is going to protect lives, is going to get people to keep fighting. It's going to give people the longevity of fighting against this Russian forces that are coming in. That just goes to show you if our government just take it up a notch a little bit, support the Ukraine where they need, give them the weapons. Look, do they need like medical aid and MREs and whatever? Yeah, they do need that. But just give them the real stuff that could change the game.
Yeah. So Roman is
and we cannot bring this. Trust me. If we had a permission, we would have brought it with us.
So Roman, how do
we are not allowed to? This is a military, so we're not bringing any lethal weapons. We cannot. But anything defensive, helmets, bulletproof vests, we have a special license. We can do that.
And before Tom asks his question, I do have an American guy who's a former veteran. Just mailed like 1,000 Kevlars, 1,000 helmets to the Ukraine on his own, man. Just one individual. Air Force veteran, retired, just went and bought 1,000 Kevlars and send it over. He's
Hey,
like, if I send money, I don't know if it's going to make it there.
I'll tell you a story. You'll love
Yeah.
it. So the two guys show up at our fundraiser from Iraq.
Really?
Former guys who fought in Iraq.
Yeah.
They come in and they say, hey, man, we would love to support Ukraine. We don't have money, but what we do have, we have armor vests, bulletproof vests. We have some ammunition, like, the defense, like the knives, the stuff that we can actually cross the border.
Wow.
And these guys gave their vests, they gave their boots, and I actually brought them. They right now in this house downstairs. I'm gonna deliver these vests,
their own gear,
to the couple guys on the front line.
Wow, it's
simple Americans.
It just got to show you, man. That just got to show you like how great the American people is. If they unite together, they can just really put their politics on the box when it comes to this. And I ask people nicely that you're not being accused of being a Russian agent. We're not accusing you of anything. What you need to do is you need to look at your human side and you need to stand with the humanity against this vicious, crazy nutshell called Putin that wants to be the greatest ever around, which I don't know what he's great about. He's going to be known for war crimes for the rest of his life.
Right. Well, I mean, he's going to be in the same list as Hitler, Stalin, and Putin. I mean, they're going to be in the same list. But
same list,
that's the company that I want to be in.
Yeah, definitely. And that's maybe some of the Russian people view it in a different way. Maybe that's why he's definitely not alone in this. And I don't want to say he's alone in this. Definitely, I believe
Russian
so.
Russian people do not write the history.
True.
The history writes itself.
It's
the just history. It's about truth, and that's what the history is about. So,
and Tom, you had a question for him.
Well, I was going to say, so like for the listeners of this podcast and our community, how do we help Roman directly? How do we help that group, support that group? What do you need? Like, how do we go about doing that?
Oh, thank you so much. I would love for your guys' support. I mean, keep us in your prayers. That's a big thing. We do need that because, hey, even right now as I speak to you guys, I mean, earlier, there was an air raid siren. I just heard a couple planes, military planes, that were flying over my head as I was talking to you guys. So we need that safety. We're going to go into some areas that, could be a little bit more dangerous.
Yeah.
The second thing, of course, we're constantly collecting donations, and 100% every single thing goes into buying stuff. And by the way, we are paying ourselves all the costs for transportation.
Yeah.
We pay for our own tickets. So literally every single dime that goes into donations, we're just going to buy more stuff and bring it to Ukraine. And as fast as possible, this is also important. We need to bring this through the cargo planes. We need to bring it through civilian planes. Sometimes we will have, one person flying over to Warsaw with 60 bags.
And you're spending a lot of money just to get that equipment in there.
Absolutely. We'll pay it. We'll collect our own people. We'll collect money. We will make sure that we get that. But again, anything that can help, I'll guys share with you the link, for our donation. You can go directly through, we can do it through PayPal, through our site. This is a local church.
Wow.
So I'll just go with that. I'll also give you a link to our Ukrainian American House. That's the NGO. In both cases, you get your tax deductions, but you will be saving lives. I can promise you that.
Before we wrap this show, what would be your message to the American people in general, all of them together, the ones that are standing with the Ukrainians, the ones who are not standing with the Ukrainians? What would be the one thing that you want to tell them today about this war in the Ukraine?
First of all, I would say that I'm so grateful for the support the United States has already provided. I have seen this during the fundraiser where people would come to me, cry with me. We cried, we hugged, or we prayed, they prayed for us. So I just want to thank American people for their generosity, for their balls to stand up against the tyranny. And for those who are still in the camp of cowardness and trying to figure out and be friends with the new, I'm not afraid to say that, new Nazi leader, Putin, I would just encourage you to get your facts straight. Learn about what this is about. Be on the right side of the history. Don't be deceived by the propaganda. Again, remember, this is probably one of the most important things in our lifetime, most important wars. And I just want for you to be on the right side of the history. And for those who support Ukraine, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, from all the Ukrainian people. You're saving lives and you're on the right side of the history.
Wow. What a message. And, you know, this is all the things that the American people have to do is take a step out the box and really take a deep look at that. And before we wrap this show, thank you so much, Roman, for being with us today. It's such an honor for you to come from a combat zone and take the time out of everything you've been doing to give us this. Our mission is to get your voice out there to the American people and specifically to the audience that need this the most. And I promise you, I'll make sure that I do that. And again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today at the Black Side Show. We're looking forward to seeing you guys again